Today I'd like to introduce you to the Slacker by 9point8. Angle reducing headsets are one of my favorite inventions. Not everybody needs the same head angle for where they live, and with a couple cups you can pop in an angle set and change the head angle of your bike. Unless you have an IS or integrated headset. For years I've been talking to component manufacturers saying, can you please make an angle set for integrated headsets? And they said, it's too hard, it's impossible. Well, 9point8 figured out a way to do it. I'm not taking credit, they didn't do it because of me, but I'm super proud that they did do it. They found a way to do it where nobody else could. So this is a way to change the head angle of your frame if you have integrated headset. Some of the bikes that have integrated headsets include the Santa Cruz Chameleon, in fact almost every Santa Cruz model now, the new Yeti Arc, some of the new Specialized. There are quite a few bikes that are going that way, and the more bikes that go to those integrated headsets where the bearings just sit in the frame with no cups, the more we need a product like this. So the Slacker will help make your bike slacker by 1.2 to 1.8 degrees, depending on your bike and depending on what you order. Technically, it could also be used to steepen the head angle. And this opens up so many possibilities, so you can fine-tune the head angle of your bike for where you live and where you ride. So today we're gonna install it on my buddy Dave's Carbon Chameleon, and I can show you what the process is like. And you're gonna see it doesn't just pop right in. We had to modify the frame a bit. So a lot of people think this is just a magic bullet that's gonna solve everything. I think we're gonna run into a few bumps and bruises along the way, but I wanna show you what the process was to get this into his Chameleon to make it 1.2 degrees slacker. All right, when you order your Slacker from 9point8, this is what you get. There are 3 parts, as you can see on this picture. So basically, we put this on the frame, turn it on a full turn, slide this in the head tube, put this on a full turn, and then we use the tool in here to tighten it. And when we tighten it, it sucks everything down evenly, and then we just make sure these little marks are on the back facing backwards. And the instructions are crystal clear. It's mostly pictures with 1 or 2 words. That's how all instructions should be. So I want to put Dave's bars back to the exact height they were before. So from the head tube to the bottom of the stem is 15 centimeters. We're also going to measure from the ground to the bottom of the stem. That is 96 centimeters. All right, let's get this thing torn apart. All right, Dave's a good man and greases his bearings. We need to clean all of the grease out and get that totally clean. Now we're gonna use carbon fiber assembly paste. What this is, it looks like grease, but it actually has these little glass beads in it that make it gritty. And that makes it, when you pull something into carbon, it's not 2 smooth surfaces that wanna slip past each other. This does not come with your kit, you're gonna need this. I'll put a link to this in the description below. We need to put this assembly paste in here so that the aluminum doesn't slide and twist on the carbon. We want it to have a little bit of grit so it'll pull in there and not move. Now we're gonna put friction paste on the cup too. A little goes a long way, you don't have to go crazy with this. Even if you're going into an aluminum frame, they recommend the carbon assembly paste. It just adds that grit and keeps things from slipping. So, install time. What we need to do here is put a full rotation on. You can hear the grit of that assembly paste, that's just what we want. And then I'm gonna do a full revolution on this, which doesn't wanna go in. That doesn't fit in there. Gonna have to sand that. Let me show you what we're dealing with. So when I go to put the top cup in, it's hitting this little shelf of carbon in here, and I think they just left that a little sticking out a little too much. So let's do some measuring. This is 34.5 millimeters, and the inside of this with that piece sticking out is 32.5 millimeters. So we have to remove 2 millimeters of material, at least 1 millimeter sitting there. Santa Cruz didn't factor in that anyone would ever be putting something in the center of that hole, so it didn't have to be round or centered. So we're gonna sand that down so that this can fit all the way in. I'm just trying to make the center hole bigger to fit the Slacker in there. And especially since this isn't having bearings sit on it anymore, it's just the cups, we're gonna be just fine. That's all gonna cinch down and hold itself in nicely. So I've taken down a fair amount of material here. This now fits in nicely, but I've got a small gap at the back. Oh, that's so close. And because this makes it slacker, it's gonna kick that tube a little bit forward. So I have to take a little bit of material out from behind right here. All right, it's actually looking better than factory because it's nice and smooth. Oh yeah, perfect. That drops right in there. There it is after I've done sanding that to make clearance for it. This part's a little tricky. Because one of these is reverse threaded, kind of acts like a turnbuckle, and it ends up bringing both pieces together. Looking good. That carbon paste is doing its job. I'm gonna tighten this to 30 Newton meters. All right, this is 22 foot-pounds. Yeah, excellent. That looks really good. All right, now we pretty much have a frame with regular headset cups that we can drop the bearings into. And it's 1.2 degrees slacker. All right, now I grease these cups like a normal headset. The install wasn't bad, the sanding down was bad. That was a lot of work to get this where it needed to be. This is not a how-to video. I'm not necessarily recommending you do this to your Chameleon. Whatever you do to your bike is your fault. I am not to be responsible. I'm just showing you what I did to my buddy Dave's bike and how this slacker product works. So if you don't want to sand your frame and potentially void the warranty running this, don't do it. I think it's totally worth it, and I don't think we ruined the structure at all. If anything, we made it stronger by taking off sharp edges and keeping the inside smoother. These are overbuilt, and by the way, when a frame comes out of a mold, it's not perfect. They have to sand it, they have to smooth everything out, but they don't sand the insides out because no one's looking at the insides and no one needs to until now. So we did that work for them. But don't be stupid, don't ruin your frame, don't sand too much off, but there was modification. They say in order to modify your bike, sometimes you have to modify your bike, and that was the case today. All right. Now, this takes up 20 mil more steer tube. So if you've cut your steer tube at the shortest possible length, you're not gonna be able to run one of these. So you need to make measurements when you order it to make sure you have enough steer tube left on your fork before you start installing this, because it will shorten it effectively, because this is taller and this is taller, which uses up steer tube. Okay, I'm not sure where our bar is gonna sit, so I'm gonna run a couple experiments here. Let's do a quick measurement. Measure from the ground, see if our effective stack is the same. And we are at 95.8. That's as close as it gets. And it even looks better. So Dave, my buddy, did a great job not cutting his steer tube too short. That always, I know people like the look of a slam steer tube, but you want to get your stem height right, and you always want to be able to save a little if you have to sell it or do something interesting like this. One thing I didn't show in this video was putting Loctite on the threads of the adapter. I forgot to film that, but you definitely want to Loctite that so it doesn't back out. So there you have it. That is the way to make your Santa Cruz Chameleon or any other bike with an integrated headset 1.2 degrees to 1.8 degrees slacker. I need to ride one of these with these installed, because I think with this bike with a 65.5 degree head angle, this could be one of my all-time favorite bikes. I'm also curious how much material I would have to remove, if any, in an aluminum one. So I'm hoping to get an aluminum Chameleon in one day so I can install one of these, show you the process for aluminum, see if it's any different, and then take it on the trail and tell you my ride impressions. So if you're now interested in a Chameleon and you're looking for one, I have a link for them in the description below. They're in stock right now at the time of this video posting. Check it out, order through that link, it helps support this channel. I'm excited to see what this thing is like out on the trail. Super impressed with the price and the build quality. 9point8 does amazing stuff, and it looks really great on here. Most people wouldn't even notice that it was on here. It looks factory, it looks really slick. If you enjoy this, make sure you're subscribed, and if you want to support it, consider becoming a patron to help me make more of these videos more often. Thanks for watching. There's a party in the mountains, and you're invited.